This being June 11th at 6:30. With me, I have Counselor Terry Murphy, Counselor Juan Anderson Burgos, and I'm Counselor Linda Vacon. So, I did not see new minutes. I think we've acted on all the ones that we've had before us.
The minutes for the one we did with Buddha Brothers. Just got it.
Okay, so do you want to leave those on the table?
We're good if you wish, yeah.
Unless you've had a chance to read them over?
I
and
didn't get to.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it, but yeah. Need to read it. I mean, I'm fine just leaving it on the table in the next meeting.
Okay. Hello.
He's number 5.
Okay. So we have an open public hearing for item number 2. So I need a motion to open it, to continue it, take up item 2 and continue the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the public hearing for item 2 is order that section 4.6.2.1 corner lot be amended to allow corner lots to be erected and maintain a fence when such fence will have no impact on traffic, visibility, etc. So I did attend the planning board meeting on another matter and stayed for this one as well. And we did also today receive an email from Marcos Marrero. And the planning board will be taking up this matter again on July 9th. And they had not had an opportunity to put any language together at the time of their hearing that I was at relative to a different matter. So I would suggest that we continue the public hearing to August 5th, which is the Monday before, if I'm understanding correctly, our summer meeting will be the first Tuesday in August. So that would give us an opportunity to put things before the council if there is language that's ready. So the planning board not meeting till July 9th maybe would have something for us then. So that's Todd's order, and he had reached out to me saying he's okay to wait because planning isn't ready. So
I assume there's anybody here that wants to speak on it. It's a public hearing, right?
it is. It is.
I don't know if there is.
But Councilor Bartley?
Right, yeah, so we were going to have to hear from the public for sure, but did you already received the communication from Mr. Marrero?
I received a communication from him
Right,
today.
So, right, I read that, so
Okay.
I just want to, okay, so we should just make a motion to, receive it in this committee, and then just attach it to the jacket. Ryan can do that.
Sure.
So I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye, and after we hear from the public on this,
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to continue.
Yeah, we're looking at August.
Yeah, the Monday before the right, that
Yeah.
first Tuesday, right, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, all right. So is there anybody here who wishes to speak on the fence ordinance matter? Not seeing any?
Motion to continue the public hearing to Monday, August 5th at 6:30 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that public hearing is continued to August 5th, 6:30. Okay, so I'll accept a motion to take up item 3.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So item 3 was a public hearing filed by Councilors Murphy, Bresnahan, and Tallamn. Ordered that the City of Holyoke amend Section 7.10.4 marijuana facilities permitted districts to reduce the distance requirement from any pre-existing public or private school providing education in pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, or any grades 1 through 12, measured from the lot lines of impacted properties to 200 feet for cultivation factories only, as permissible under Mass General Law 94G, Section 5B3. All other marijuana functions would continue to require a 500-foot buffer. Now, this public hearing was opened and closed at our last meeting, and we tabled the item to this meeting to hear from the planning board. So the planning board has submitted a recommendation dated May 22nd, 2019, regarding a recommendation to the marijuana facility buffer. Dear Counselor, it's addressed to Counselor Murphy, Counselor Bresnahan, and Counselor Tallamn and me. Please be advised that at its May 14, 2019 meeting, the Holyoke Planning Board discussed the above referenced zone change request. After consideration of all information and testimony presented during the public hearing, the board voted 4-0 to recommend to the Ordinance Committee that the City Council amend Section 7.10.4 of the zoning ordinance to specify a 0-foot buffer for all marijuana manufacturing, testing, and retail sales locations as defined in Section 7.10.2 marijuana establishments and definition. We understand that this is a simple technical correction to the existing ordinance. State law requires that municipal zoning ordinances for cannabis facilities explicitly set forth the city's buffer zone distance. The current ordinance has no language addressing buffers, reflecting the City Council's determination that because the ordinance restricts such facilities to the IG zoning district and allows them only by special permit even within that zone, it is unnecessary and undesirable to impose further siting restrictions via a buffer zone. This zoning amendment is therefore necessary to give effect to the council's original intent and does not otherwise change the ordinance. We believe the council's original determination was correct. As set forth more fully in our previous recommendations, we believe that the City Council's special permit process is sufficient to protect the public health and safety, and that the imposition of a buffer zone would merely serve to restrict the council's flexibility and would create undesirable barriers to siting tax-paying businesses at appropriate locations within the city. We would also like to take this opportunity to suggest that the City Council reconsider the current restriction of dispensaries to the IZ zoning district. This restriction imposes a burden to the needs of the profoundly disabled patient population that medical marijuana dispensaries will serve. Additionally, it creates a competitive disadvantage for Holyoke in both the medical and recreational market. The existing restriction makes it difficult for Holyoke to capture its share of the business and revenues generated by dispensaries. We believe that the special permit process would be sufficient to protect the public health and safety if dispensaries were to be permitted more generally. So the last paragraph is really not on point to the order before us, but we have taken note of their opinion. I will respond to the second paragraph. Being a member of the committee at the time that we developed the ordinance, we initially developed the marijuana ordinance for medical marijuana only. We did not address buffers in that situation. When we updated our ordinance to reflect recreational, we adopted most of what was already on the books as for medical. The zoning matter in terms of the buffer was not left silent with an intent that it would be 0. We have always had buffers relative to alcohol and other restricted substances relative to schools. So speaking for myself, there was no such intent on my part in that regard. So I don't know where the planning board got their perception from, but I would just like to be on the record in that regard. So we have their recommendation before us. We have the order that was filed before us. So if the maker of the order would like to address our action.
Let me address a few things. Thank you. First of all, again, I'm hoping that the committee amends the ordinance per the order that I filed for several reasons. Number one, in moving this along, and I've met with school principals and tried to talk to some parents and things along that lines. I've talked to businesses that are just outside the 200-foot buffer zone, which have opportunities to do some things if this is passed. I would disagree with the planning board, first of all, and I would also suggest that it would be unfair if we go beyond what this order requests at this point based on the planning board's recommendation, because we held a public hearing here and we only talked about the 200-foot buffer zone. So if we are in fact going to do something different, I would think that's an entirely different public hearing and an entirely different issue. I do think the 200-foot buffer zone does provide a safety for school zones. I would disagree with the planning board's idea that having a retail marijuana shop across the street from a kindergarten to sixth grade school does not create some potential of mischief, if you will. And, you know, I just want us to stick with the ordinance that I filed, the order that I filed to start with this 200-foot restriction for cultivation. If everything goes well and they want to put other things in, and I will certainly consider them, but for tonight, what we have in front of us is that order for a 200-foot buffer zone. I'm pretty sure we've got people that would be in support of that because they've got people that would like to do cultivation within that, just outside of that 200-foot area. I want to make one other point. I've talked to Dr. Streich. I've talked to the two principals. I tried to get a written letter per Councilor Bartley's request, and I went to visit the two principals after our last meeting regarding this matter. They both were the same opinion, but they were told that they couldn't write a letter to me, that all of that would come from the school receiver, who then told me that as long as we thought it was okay and there was no consideration otherwise, he would be okay with it. So, and I think he has sent a letter to others. I got the impression he was sending. I thought he was sending it out to individual counselors. Maybe he did not. But so that's where all of that stands. And it's my hope tonight that we move the order as is to the full city council.
Anybody else? Councilor Lisi?
I just want to say that I'll be voting in favor of this evening, and I do want to state for the record, since we were talking about intent of previous votes, that I would be absolutely of the mind of a more liberal zoning that allowed for adult use marijuana of all sorts in not only the IG zone, but in business districts throughout the city. I also think that there was a disagreement at the time that the original ordinance was drafted about what the appropriate buffer would be, and so I just want to go on the record that I do support this move here, and previously a more liberal implementation of the zoning ordinances around medical, recreational, and dispensaries. Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to be heard? Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, I just wanted to add my, I think at the last meeting I mentioned that I'd like to have the, and we may have voted on it. I don't know if the chair remembers whether we voted. I wanted to make sure that we went round on this, that any school within the revised zone would be noticed to this effect. I think that's what
We did have discussion on that.
Okay, so I don't know if we voted on it, but I want to, so I'd amend that to, I want the principals to be noted, and I want the, certainly the receiver and or hopefully the superintendent at some point in the not too distant future would be noticed.
When development would take place within 200 feet?
Yeah. So I think originally what I talked about, so I wanted them to sort of almost have a veto vote, but then we had a discussion, and I came around to I revised it to say I want them to be that they have to be noticed. Any principal, and then certainly the receiver and or superintendent, whoever the head of the school is, whatever his or her title is going to be at that point. So right now it's a receiver, but that's not going to be forever, as we know. So I want to make sure the language just reflects that.
Okay, so your amendment would be to add that any school within the 200-foot buffer would be noticed.
The principal would be noticed.
The principal, receiver, and/or superintendent.
Yes, yeah, that's my, that was my, I don't know if we voted last time, but if we could vote on that now, I hope we can.
So that's your
support for that.
motion to add an amendment that the principal, receiver, superintendent of any school within 200 feet be noticed when a marijuana cultivation project is proposed.
Yes.
Did that capture it?
Well, I think.
So would that be during a special permit process?
It would.
So that would be a condition of the permit.
Yeah, okay.
No, I think that if
It would have to be before the permit.
Oh,
They're gonna
okay,
be
oh,
noticed,
okay, then
right?
it'd be in the ordinance then, so that would be the,
Yeah.
that would be part of the law, I guess.
Notice of the public hearing. I think that's
Correct.
really what we want to notice them of.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, notice of the public, notice that the applicant is involved.
That's
notice
how
of the
I was
public hearing, yes.
understanding it.
Yeah, that would be great,
Okay,
so. Yeah, so I said receiver and the.
I'll specify the public hearing so that won't
Yeah,
be
okay, cool,
any vagueness.
cool.
And I'd be fine with that, so.
So we have a
So
motion
is
for an
that
amendment
secretary?
with a second. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
second that.
all in favor? Aye. And so now we need a motion on the original order as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the order as amended.
Second.
Approve recommendation of the order as amended.
Any discussion? Okay, so just to be clear, because we'll have to ask our attorney to put this in legal form for us, we have an amendment that the principal, receiver, and/or superintendent of any school within the 200-foot buffer shall be noticed of the public hearing when a special permit is sought for a marijuana cultivation project. And then the other language that we have just approved is to reduce the distance requirement from any pre-existing public or private school providing education in pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, or any grades 1 through 12, measured from the lot lines of impacted properties to 200 feet for cultivation factories only, as permissible under M.G.L. 94G, Section 5B3. All other marijuana functions would continue to require a 500-foot buffer.
May I, under discussion?
I'm just reading this in, and this is what we'll need the legal form for.
I just have a question. So you amended the buffer down to 200 feet. Are we still doing notice for those schools that meet the 500-foot buffer?
Have we been?
No.
No, so that would be
No.
a new process, but I'm just saying you're notifying the ones that would meet the 200-foot buffer.
Because it's
as
lower
cultivation
than,
facilities, but are we making the notification part of anything that would meet the 500-foot buffer?
no.
Well, can I just, on a
No.
point of order here?
Counselor Lisi?
Thank you. So just, if you think about it, so we are not allowing these facilities within the 200-foot buffer.
Correct.
And so I think we want to be able to notice between 200 and 500 feet,
There you go, yeah.
because nothing is allowed under 200 feet.
Right. So if it's a project that is within the new buffer zone,
So that's 200 to 500-foot buffer, or
But-
feet from the school.
is that what you were asking? But your point is correct.
It was,
It's
I think.
It's for the buffer zone that is less than what is the standard.
It's between 200 and 500
Correct.
feet, because there's nothing going to be created in less than 200 feet.
Right.
So now we have, I mean, it's not called a buffer, it would just be the distance 200 to 500 feet away from a school.
Right, but, so that's fine, we can notify anybody between 200 and 500 feet. But the way the language is going to read is that schools can be located essentially at 201 feet. So you want to notify anybody at 201 to 500 feet. But what about the schools at 501 feet from a dispensary where, like, it's still a buffer, there's still not going to be anything in under 500 square feet, or 500 feet if it's not cultivation.
But they're outside the 500-foot buffer of the state law.
Yeah.
Right.
This is just because
So-
we've gone beyond
Right.
that state line.
That's fine.
So, did we do our final vote on that already? I think we did.
No, no, no.
Or we
just had
we're
the
still in
discussion on that.
All right, so then we have our motion. I've read the amendments and the language that we want, and we've clarified the meaning. And I think that is a good clarification. Do we need to change any of the language in the amendment relative to that clarification?
Just
Or-
adding that amendment on.
Well, I mean,
Counselor
well,
Bartley?
I'm just gonna say, you know, I don't wanna delay this. I'm just gonna say, when can we get the legal language? So we can just sort of,
I have it mostly drafted right here.
Okay, so could I just suggest that you amend your amendment to say from 200 to 500 feet for the notice? But I think that clarifies what her question was.
some of,
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So now we have the amendment clarified that it's 200 to 500, and the original language of the order read into the record to request legal form. So all in favor of this as amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No.
point of order.
Counselor Bartley.
Since it's under suspension to the solicitor, I just was, I would hope I could just get you always send them out before the meeting anyhow, just if we could, it's just easier for me to,
It'll be submitted before Friday. You'll have it
yeah,
before.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So we're set on that. Now, I see at one of our last meetings, well, I guess we have a number of people here on all of our orders, so. Item 4 then.
A motion to take item 4 off the table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4 is a petition of Jesus Feliciano of 261 Elm Street for a street vendor license. If you could please come up to the microphone. And just tell us about what it is that you would like to do and what days you would like to do it and what hours you would like to do it and where. I think we'll be all set. Does he have 2 or 1?
Yeah, I want to Race Street where I've been.
So we're gonna be in 130 Race Street, right here in Holyoke. We're gonna be Thursday to Saturday. So we're planning to be afternoon into 7 or 8, if possible with us. And we try to have safety and everything in place, and we try our best there. And we be really careful with the customer that are coming. We don't want any trouble or anything, so that's pretty much what we're doing.
So can I just ask you to repeat a couple things I didn't catch? So the corner of Race and
It's 130 in Race Street.
130?
Yes.
And Thursday through Saturday?
That's
is-
correct.
Yep.
Yes.
From Thursday and Friday from 11 to 7, and Saturday from 12 to 8 or a little bit later.
Well, so if you're thinking later, you want to give us the latest time that you'd be interested in having.
We want to know what is the late that we can be there. We really we are really be careful with the people. Like we come in really late, so we want everything in order. So
Well, right, but I mean, we'll consider what you want, but.
like we can say 9:30, 10.
What does the ordinance say for?
Because we don't know the order, like, into what time we can stay there, so we want to do everything, like, pretty much in order.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can we suspend the rules and ask legal to?
Sure. Is that a motion?
Yeah, second.
All in favor? Aye.
Under suspension of the rules, Crystal, do we have time constraints on the hours of operation for street vendors?
What I'm looking up right now,
Great, thanks. And we could come back to that and give you a minute, because I know that Councilor Bartley wanted to ask a question. It's not too legal though, right?
No, thank you.
Counselor Bartley?
Just, Ms. Who's the woman with you? What's your name?
My sister.
I'm his sister,
What's your name?
Jancy Mendez. Jancy Mendez.
Okay, Ms. Mendez, yeah, thank you for being here, and
Thank
thank you,
you.
Ms.
Have a
Feliciano,
great
for
day.
being here. No, don't leave town.
Okay, sure.
Don't leave town yet.
Okay.
We're not ready to go. Okay, so we do a lot of these. So what I don't want to do is leave it kind of loose, but then we don't want to be too restrictive because we don't want to negatively impact your business. So I'm certainly, I for one am fine with your proposed hours, whether they're you know, I mean, I guess I'm on the mindset to keep them consistent. So from Thursday through Saturday, just make it 11 to 10. Just so we don't have to think about it all the time. I'd rather do that.
Okay.
I would not really be interested in supporting something that goes past 10 o'clock. In fact, I won't. So there's that, regardless of whatever ordinance says or doesn't say. I don't really feel like vendors should be out, because Springfield does that, and I don't think that's a great look for Springfield on late night hours. And
No, we
we
had a couple of invitations to a couple of places, but it's like at night, and I feel that's a risk for us working at that time at night. So I rejected all their offers.
Okay, good. So I'd be of the opinion, and so if we say the hours, Thursday through Saturday, 11 to 10, doesn't mean you have to be there those hours. It only means that you have that window of opportunity to run your business. And by the way, you can come there earlier before 11 and set up if you want. So there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can't come at 4 in the morning and set up, but I mean, you can within a reasonable time prior there too. The other question we generally ask is the months of the year. So in other words, I assume you want to be there through November, but maybe you're not so keen on being there in December, January, and February.
No, we're
Yeah,
not
because it's
planning to
gonna
be there.
start snowing and it gets
Right,
cold.
so to start it, would you be agreeable to say, starting when, March 1st, April 1st, May 1st?
Yes.
Which do you prefer?
You know, you tell us, I mean,
I think Abril, ¿verdad?
Sí, yeah, sí,
April 1st.
My birthday.
well, and that's okay, so that can be, you can work around that too. You know, don't forget, there's a lot of St. Patrick activities in March as well, so I mean, but then again, it's cold, so I don't know if you want to be out there. So if you want to think about that while you have a minute, we can certainly do it from March 1 to say when, like October 31st, November 30th, or, I mean, it's
Like October.
October 31st. Okay, so why don't we say March 1st to October 31st? Again, you don't have to be there. You just have the flexibility, as it were. And what is your product?
We sell steak, cheese fries, empanadas,
Turnover.
shrimp salad, and a sandwich.
And you'll have soft drinks and water and
Yeah, water and all that. Yep.
that sort of. Oh, okay.
Actually, I had a question. Because it's getting kind of hot, and already we got people from New York that they come and try to buy food from us, and I was trying to I don't know. They told me I gotta ask permission, to put a tarp with a table. I don't know if I could do that.
You do, and we can make that motion that you want to put a table and a couple of chairs out there.
Yeah, because and a tarp for the sun, because I got people coming and they buy and they leave because of the sun.
So what Councilor Lisi said to me is probably right. I'm not positive. I mean, she's generally right. But so my point being is, we could make a amendment and we could allow that so long as you have proper permits from, say, Board of Public Health or the Board of Public Works. You may need to approach them. Okay. So we could make that motion to approve that you have tables and chairs. And it goes without saying that you have to maintain the corner and keep it neat, and it shouldn't be.
We always take our garbage and we clean up before we go.
Yeah, because you're getting permits from the Board of Health, so I have no issue with that whatsoever. Because that's a pretty wide sidewalk. The sidewalks on Race Street are double sidewalks.
Because it's got a little space on the side that you could see the water, and it's kind of nice. So I was thinking a little tarp with a table.
Because we're in the front of 130.
We're in 130 Ray Street, so we're in that little plaza, and it looks kind of nice. So I was people are coming, but they're leaving because of the sun and the heat.
So the plan is for you to make it look nicer. That's the plan.
People can stay
For
a
a
little bit
family
long
ambient.
they're coming from Connecticut. I had 3 people coming from New York to buy. I'm oh, you was visiting family? You're no, I came to eat your food. I was wow. And they was eating the truck of the car. So I was wow, I want them to sit down or something.
So you'll see my hot dog guy. He's always out there. Gosh, it's right across from the old registry. I can't remember, but he has a tent, And, you know,
And
he's the
Main
guy with the
Street.
hot dog, puts the little chips in the hot dogs and all that. He's
Yes.
unbelievable. But, you know, he has a tent and tables and chairs out there, and so there's not an issue, but I'm of the opinion he probably has to get some kind of permission from, I think as Counselor said, from Public Works or Board of Health. So we can make that contingent upon you getting the proper permits. Thank you for that. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So just, I want to note that they did provide a permit for mobile food from the Board of Health that is attached to this application. And you did note on your application that you wanted to be moving around. And I know that you're talking about 130 Race Street as your main site. Were there other particular areas that you?
For right now, no, because
planning
they
to stay
already know
there.
that we're there. So,
Okay, so,
but we went to
so
the
you're-
Hispanic
Hispanic festival. We went there.
Yeah.
So for them little events, we will go, but we want to stay there for now.
okay, all right, I just wanted to clarify that. Does anybody else have any questions?
No, I'm just gonna make it so if you did want to move, then you need to amend the permit, okay? So,
They gave me the peddler license. I don't know if that's what I gotta show to move around
From
or
the-
something.
yeah, common victular license, yeah, that's what they gave you,
Yeah, I got that.
right, so.
But I still gotta ask if I'm gonna move or something.
He can go to the
If-
events,
No, Counselor Bacon's right, you can go to the events, but if you want to be on another public sidewalk,
then you have to,
yeah, you have to come,
Okay.
right, because we can't just give you like carte blanche for the whole city for every sidewalk. It doesn't work that way. All right, so there you go.
Counselor Lisi?
Thank you. So I just want to clarify that your peddler license is what allows you to have the food truck, And what we're doing here with the special permit is giving you essentially permission to be on a particular space in the city. So the food truck license is kind of separate. And then here is where we help you designate like where you're going to be set up. So if you wanted to change where you're conducting business, you would come back and amend this permit, but the peddler license that you have from the DPW would not have to be amended.
Okay. For now, I stay there.
Okay.
We like it.
Okay.
So I'll just make a motion to approve the application Thursday through Saturday, 11 to 10, at 130 Race Street, and that we allow them to set up, how many tables, Ms. Mendez?
I was thinking about two.
Okay, allow them to set up 2 tables with,
Cover.
you know, the cover and with chairs, so long as they procure whatever necessary permits from Board of Public Works or whomever else.
Okay, is there a second on that? Second. All right. Do you need to have a clean list of this?
I don't do anything with these, but you had asked about hours, and maybe it's an ordinance change we need to do, because currently our ordinance 62-37 says
Yeah.
that the hours cannot be, nobody in the city can pedal before 8 AM or after 6 PM.
Oh.
I know that we've done a variety of things,
Oh, and we've
but
done,
our hawkers and peddlers is a separate section than our, what's the other one?
I'll file in order to get those 2 lined up.
Then our registration of peddlers and solicitors, so the hours falls under the registration, but then hawkers and peddlers is a separate article, but it still says you can't peddle before or after those hours, so maybe it's time to smush those together and make it cohesive to what we do, or take out hours altogether, that's just by special permit.
and so what does the registration portion say?
Hours is its own section, and it says it shall be unlawful for any person to peddle or solicit before the hours of 8 AM of any day or after the hour of 6 PM of any day.
But the other section, did that stipulate different hours?
No.
Oh, it stipulated no specific hours.
Right, so registration and licensing is all kind of together, but
Okay.
not really.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think they're okay, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I think then we can, when Council Lisi files the order, we'll all sign on to it, and we'll just, maybe legal could suggest some language to Council Lisi for the appropriate order to be filed, and we'll all sign on to it and get that squared up, so.
Okay, so you've made the motion, it was seconded, all in favor? Aye. Okay, item,
Well, just, you want to just tell them how it works?
oh, yes. So, process-wise, we will be making a recommendation to the city council, and these are usually non-controversial. You can attend if you want, but you're not required to. And then they'd need to go to the clerk's office, is it, to pick up the special permit? After the vote of the city council. And let's see, our meeting
Next Tuesday.
will be on the 18th.
Week from today.
And you can watch it on video if you don't watch it live.
Okay,
And if you want to find your part for the vote.
do I still gotta go to, donde me dijo él?
Public Works, yeah, so what you want to do is go, ma'am, Chair?
Sure. Here, you need the mic.
You want to go to the city clerk on the 19th, so that'll be the day after we vote.
Okay.
So when you see the city clerk, Mrs. McGee will give you the permit, and you see the language in there about the Board of Public Works, Ms. Mendez. So, but in the meantime, why don't you call up the Department of Public Works tomorrow or the next day and just say, what kind of permit do we need to put out tables and chairs
Sure, I
on a
will.
public sidewalk?
Sure.
And then they'll start
the
the
umbrella
process.
Okay,
And the umbrella.
sure, I will.
And then the little flowers and whatever else you need. Okay?
Thanks, Council Bartley. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion
Good
to
luck.
take,
Have a good day.
Motion
You
to
too.
take number 5 off the table?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item 5, a petition by Arnaldo Ravento Lopez of 222 Pine Street for a street vendor license to be located at 436 High Street.
It's me. It's gonna be in 456 High Street.
What number?
At 456.
Four,
So,
five?
yeah, it's in front of the Haberman,
Where?
High Street.
In front of what building?
You know Haberman, the
Oh,
the
Haberman.
side, Haberman, yeah,
It's 4.
Howard 2,
Is that 436 or 456?
456, I think. it's
50?
that. 56.
Oh, okay.
So it's a
Yeah.
typo, I guess.
Typo then.
You have a type, all right. Proceed.
Yep. Oh yeah, I got a food truck. It's gonna be so some baked potatoes, burritos, and lorry fries. There's a fries on everything inside the fry. Yeah.
Council Bartley?
Yeah, so when, so you heard what we did, so when, please?
456 High Street.
No copy. What days of the week and
Oh,
what
well, in
hours?
the weekend, it's gonna be from Monday to Saturday. It's gonna be from 11:30 to 7.
So 11 to 7.
11:30, yeah, 11:30 in the
11,
morning to
11.
7. 11:30 in the morning to 7 in the afternoon.
Okay, you don't need any tables and chairs, you're good?
No,
on that?
I don't need
Oh,
nothing
okay,
that-
all right,
no.
so- All right, so Monday, and then what months of the year?
I'm planning to work from March to November.
Okay, so March 1st
Yeah, March 1st to
to
November.
November 30th?
November 3rd, yeah.
It's gonna be cold.
October. October.
Oh,
I thought he said November.
I got the beepers in the car. You know, with the people that can stay in the car waiting for the food.
Okay,
You know the beeper they use in the restaurant to beep the people when the food is ready. I got the beepers in the I got the beepers in the truck. Yeah.
So I'll make the motion to approve the permit that the applicant wants be there from Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then from operation, the permit will be from the first day in March to the last day in November. From
Second.
March 1st to November 30th.
Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
good luck.
All right. Thank
You
you.
know the drill from the first one that Councilor Bartley had us go through for after the vote, Tuesday, to go to the clerk
Okay.
the next day,
All right. All right. Thank you.
okay?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Motion to, wow, boy. Madam Chair, can we go out of order, only just to take up, only because the chief, I think he was the last one for the budget hearing, so can we go out of order, just take up number 8? You mind?
I don't mind, but I was only going to say that item 6 is going to be very brief.
Madam Chair, make a motion to take number, I withdraw, take motion 6 up the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so item 6 was filed by Councilors Murphy, Vacon, McGee, and Bresnahan, that the mayor, the school receiver, and the law department work together to provide a legal contractual commitment for the school department to provide a payment of $1 million each year toward the bond payment for 2 middle schools should the debt exclusion question be approved. Please report the status of this discussion to the City Council by September 17th. Now, 2 of the 4 makers of the order have notes on our agenda that this order that we filed was sent to Finance. However, the order came to the Ordinance Committee, and as noted on the order out of the clerk's office. But we do believe that it properly belongs in Finance. So in order to accomplish that, we will have to refer it back to the City Council to send it to Finance at our next meeting on Tuesday. So I apologize for any confusion, causing you to take the extra time. Well, it's a home away from home, right? So,
Point of order. Couldn't-
Councilor Bartley?
I mean, not blaming anybody, but couldn't we have just kind of given the receiver a, sort of a heads up, if you would, that we're just gonna, because I didn't know what was going, I'm just asking for, just for future reference, if we could.
Well, I guess we could have, I just figured it out at like, I
No,
don't know, 4 o'clock today.
No,
What was what?
no one's fault, but just for when we do this,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't clear on that one. I apologize to the receiver for kind of running down here, but that's it.
Councilor Lisi?
Thank you. I just have 2 questions. One is, can't we just send it over to Finance directly?
Well, we could if I had put it on the agenda and the bottom of the order said Finance, then we could. If it was in the jacket by mistake and it said
I see.
Finance,
Mhm.
then we could send it directly over.
But it got incorrectly sent to Ordinance, and now we have to, as a full body, send it over to Finance instead of just a copy.
Right, unless we decided it was more in the interest of the public to take it up here, because it's here,
I do also, it seems like we're not going to have much of an update because it was just filed last week and, it hasn't given these different parties a chance to work together or anything. But since we have the receiver here, does it make sense to just ask for an update on what things look like at this point?
Well, it would be in order because it is properly before. It's legally before us on the agenda, so it would be certainly okay to do
a brief
that.
update on what that looks like or what they have to do, just to get a sense of what their own process is going to be at this point.
Yeah, but I just wanted to be clear about what happened and why it wouldn't be a lengthy discussion tonight. So if, Dr. Zoik, if you wish to speak to it in a very general, brief term, certainly since you went to the trouble of being here, we would welcome it. You can either come in and use a microphone at the desk or whatever you
stay
prefer.
outside.
Don't get comfortable.
There is a lot of discussion that still needs to happen about what that documentation would look like. I had wanted, Mr. Soto couldn't be here tonight because he had another commitment, but he and I have had conversations with the Department of Education. We still need to do have some consultations with the city solicitor, but the idea is through our service agreement with the city and then through some revolving accounts that we have, provided that the middle schools do, are voted on, then we feel comfortable with a $1 million annual allocation or pass back to the city, and it would be eligible for net school spending. There are provisions that allow for us to send resources back to the city for services and the like. So we do have some vetting to do, like exactly what that language would look like, so that it passes muster on the city side and from the Department of Education. But Mr. Soto and I did talk with the lead finance folks at the department about a month ago when Mr. Murphy and Todd McGee had asked us to look into the possibility of this, and we feel confident that it can happen. And my understanding is the city would like to see some level of documentation or commitment from the school district moving forward. So that's the update I have at this point.
Thank you. Counselor Lisi?
Thanks. And I understand that you would be working with our city's solicitor, but is there additional legal representation from the state that would be weighing in on the language? And do you have someone else that you consult with on the school's end?
We do have our, there are attorneys for the Department of Education, because these are resources, Chapter $70. So we have our own attorneys, but in this case, I would defer to the Department of Education attorneys, because it has to do with Chapter 70 money that the state sends the school district.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Murphy?
Yeah, and thank you for coming.
Sure.
I know we see a lot of each other.
No, that's
And I filed this because of my conversations with the Department of Education. And I know when we were having the committee hearings, you talked about being able to commit the $1 million, but as you said to me, you're not going to be here forever, and I'm not going to be here forever. So when I spoke with them, they said their indication was you want to work to get a legal document together so that whoever's here will know that that is in place. And that to work with Dr. Reich and the mayor and the city solicitor, which is why I put this together. And I do appreciate you reaching out to the Department of Education, because they were also like, well, I think you can do it, but I'm not really quite sure how you're going to do it and how it's going to impact net spending. So I'm glad to see that they're talking to you about that, because obviously I think this is a question that needs to be in. And I put September 17th, not knowing what the ballot question date would be, right, with the idea that the voters should know that commitment is there or is not there, depending on what the legal language will say, but I'm hoping it will be there. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd also just say we also had this discussion. Mr. Soto and I also talked to Cinder on the phone regarding this, because when she redid the numbers for the borrowing with the $1 million factored in, she had a lot of questions for us as well. 'Cause this is pretty unique. I mean, school districts don't exactly offer to give more money back to the city, but this is a unique circumstance, and so we did have a long conversation with Cinder as well, so she's aware of this plan. I think now the work is just, I'm not a lawyer, so I want to make sure that this is properly done and the city council feels comfortable with the language presented to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to refer to, back to city council, so you refer to finance?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I know we got two department heads here, but how long is this, is this a quick one, number 7? Okay, motion to take number 7 off the table.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 7, filed by Counselor McGee, that the auditor come before ordinance to address all payment in lieu of tax programs in the city. Thanks for coming down, and I saw your email where you had, which is fine. We didn't think you'd be able to have everything, although I have to say I was surprised there were 9 different programs. You pass things one at a time, and you lose track of what's actually going on. So thank you for pulling this together so quickly.
No problem.
And thank you for those other documents if I haven't sent you an email back.
No problem, anytime. So what I've done is I pulled all the payments. The second sheet is all the payments I pulled out of the Munis system that we've received from the pilot programs, because I didn't have any documentation, like I don't have the contracts, and I will have them probably by the end of the week. So the total payments to date during fiscal year 19, you can see on the top sheet, we've accepted cash receipts of $1.4 million. And I'm assuming that on the other side of this is what they projected, what they're supposed to be paying. So we look like we're right on target, because we also have another payment for $88,000 that is expected to come in from Holyoke Gas and Electric. So you can see here that money that goes in there is from auctions, the Mount Tom Solar, Holyoke Gas and Electric, the housing, Holyoke Water, and there's a Holyoke pilot, which I think is like a Kelly Street and Babola Road, maybe.
Oh, those are solar.
And those are solar, yep, so those are the solar ones as well that are in this title, Holyoke Pilot.
Okay.
I think there's 3 different ones, but it's all with the same company.
Okay.
I just need that documentation. You have ISO New England, you have the computer center down the street, is it Green Computers or something like that? And then you have Suez with the DPW. So I put together what they paid to date. I don't know exactly what they're supposed to be paying, but what I'll do during the next week or so is I'll just fill in the begin dates, the end dates, and when they make payments. You can see some of them just do it yearly. You can see that annually by looking at, their past payments. But then other ones are like this 5,000 per megawatt direct. And I think they communicate with the assessor's office for that kind of so I'm gonna contact the assessor, see what he has for documentation in his office.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you. Council Bartley? Not quite that. You know you're not going to escape without at least 1 or 2 questions, right?
Okay.
But it's a good effort.
Right, so this is very helpful. I'm just, so I think what I heard you say is that you have the numbers, but you don't have the source, you're working on procuring the source documents from which these numbers are derived?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, so obviously it's not 1935 on there for SHR Energy, so that's just a typo, that's just gotta be updated if you would.
So SHR Energy should be a pilot program, you're saying?
I don't know what it should be, but there's a begin date and an end date of 1935, so clearly that's
That's in the contract.
well, not end date of 1935?
Oh, not 1935, sorry, that's a typo.
Right. No, I'm just
That's
pointing out
already gone past.
That's what went by its sell-by date.
That's what I get for rushing.
By its sell-by date for sure. And then
2035 it should be.
no, clearly, when something says auctions, what does that mean?
There's different lawyers' offices that we're actually receiving the funds from. I don't know if Crystal, if you can speak more on the auctions. It looks like they must have to pay taxes on maybe sales. I'm not sure.
Okay,
I have to reach out for that.
No, I'm just saying, I don't expect you about, if we just flesh that out a little bit. MG Mount Tom Solar, I know what that is because they won't be forced, numerous times in the committee I chair. HG&E, I see in parentheses a number 2, so I'm just taking that to mean that there's two.
I think there's two different contracts because there's 2 separate types of payments that they're making.
They have a solar field too.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was one for Holyoke Gas and Electric and then another for the solar. Okay.
Yes, it is, because that was a new project.
When it comes in, it just says Holyoke Gas and Electric, unfortunately, so we have to dig up the cash receipts and see the information that's on there.
Okay, and I'm just gonna skip one, then Holyoke Water, Holyoke Pilot SHR, ISO New England, so we know what that is, which if counselors get the chance to look, I think the assessment on that building would be approximate to $10 million at least, and so when you see what they're actually paying, it's but a fraction of what they would be taxed upon, and that is, yes, it is technically a nonprofit corporation, but there are 500 employees up there with making massive salaries. We're glad they're in Holyoke and all that, but it would be nice if they're paying the real tax rate. The computer center, actually I didn't even know it was paying $80,000, so I guess I'm glad it's that, but we'll leave that for somebody else's rhetoric. But you look at Holyoke Housing Authority. Now, is that a joke? Are we kidding on that?
I don't believe it's a joke. That's what I pulled out of the system.
So the joke's on the City of Holyoke.
I don't believe so. I wasn't there when it was created, so I can't really.
He's just talking about the amount.
This is rhetoric, right? This is not directed at any person.
Okay, that's correct.
Any persons, right?
Yeah.
But are we kidding? This is embarrassing. So for the amount of services that authority gets, plus we know what their reserves are. They're in the hundreds of thousands of dollars because I read their minutes. Mm-hmm. So we know what they have. And for them, not to even offer a contribution. I mean, we're talking $3,300 measly dollars for Holyoke Housing Authority. I mean, that is really something, something to behold. I mean,
I'm assuming you could do a new contract, correct?
We'll have to see.
I'm assuming
We'll have to see.
the executive branch could do a new contract. So that's why it's important to have this come to light.
Absolutely.
So
Some of them are very old. The contracts that I've seen are very old.
They're from 1935.
right,
From
right.
1991, some of them.
All of us.
Well, it's all relative, as we say. It's all relative. So we're not gonna go there.
Absolutely. Well,
but-
I'll get you that information, so you'll be able to see, and then you can take action if you need to do that.
So-
That's fine.
This is very helpful.
So what I wouldn't want, I'd rather have the auditor give her the opportunity, Madam Chair, to sort of fill up this spreadsheet.
So you
before-
want to table it?
Well, I think we should because we don't have the full picture right now.
Right.
That's fine.
But this is good because it was a short notice request.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you whatever I
So
could
that,
get.
that'll be my motion after councilors have a chance to ask
Do you
questions.
want more information than that's on the spreadsheet? Because if you do, send me an email, so as I'm creating it, I can pull the information out of the documents. What's that?
Just the
The
contract.
contract begin and end date.
You just want the beginning, end date, payment terms, and figures?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that is missing from where I stand is I'd like to know, are people making good on the contracts?
Well, without, yeah.
And,
Yes.
because I know you're just looking at receipts.
as well.
As opposed to,
Absolutely.
the terms.
Right.
And so those are some of the things that I have questions about at this point. Like, I was under the impression through conversations with Tony that the housing authority was paying like $500,000 a year for a pilot, $500,000. And then I called Sandy's office and she was like, no way. And I called Crystal as well. And she's like, we're trying to figure this all out. And
Yeah.
So
We're definitely working together.
yeah, it would be really interesting to see if people aren't actually meeting the terms of the agreement. And I do think that there's an opportunity to renegotiate things if they have just expired terms or they're no longer in process. Yeah, thanks.
And I do know, and maybe other counselors at this table can help me out, but I do know we have more solar projects than the ones by SHR. We have one on County Road that was out of Southampton. We know we have the HG&E one that's documented here.
Right.
And the SHR.
Wasn't the
But we have-
HG one in conjunction with the one from Southampton?
There are two separate ones. The HG&E one is at the end of Muller Road, and the one that was built by the people in Southampton is on County.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're close.
Yep.
But-
And if,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how they work, and I don't know a lot about electricity, but if they have to pay per megawatt, I think we'd have to look at what it is, when they have to pay, how much, to see if they are,
Right, so all I can tell you is that for all the fields that were approved, they did have a pilot.
And a county road is another one you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm just gonna look it up, because this is the information that I have that you
Yeah.
see, so
And the
I'll
one
reach
down-
out to Tony.
And the one
in the
downtown,
assessor's
is
office.
that SHR or is that HG&E?
I think it's HGE, but I'm
The
not
one
100%. The one on the old Parsons lot.
Yeah,
No, HG&E is in Springdale.
but there's,
That's right, it is in Springdale.
do they have the Muller Road and they have Springdale,
In Springdale,
and that's it? Oh, well,
my knowledge, yeah.
so there may be some that haven't paid,
There could be.
yeah.
I
so-
agree with that.
All right,
Yeah, let me reach out to I called the assessor's office, but I spoke to his assistant, he wasn't in the office, so let me reach out directly to him and see what he has available.
right, because we may capture
Absolutely.
some lost money. All right, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
Motion table to when you work it out with the auditor.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay. Poor chief. Motion to take him right off the table. He's always
Is there a
so long.
second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item 8, filed by Counselor Valentin and Counselors Murphy, that Chief Pond be invited to an ordinance committee meeting to discuss an incentive program for 6-family and above residential properties installing or upgrading a compliant monitored fire protection system in their property. So at our previous meeting, under a separate order, we had some discussion And then it was felt that we needed to really, to do anything different than what we had on the books relative to the rates, we would need to be, you know, in the interest of disclosure, talking about it as its own special project. So you have the floor, Chief.
Yes. Well, thank you. Always great being here. And I didn't mind waiting. It was good.
Well, it was good of you.
I had already spoken to Councilor Murphy and Councilor Valentin about this. I looked back on the recording of when you spoke about the commercial plan review fee, and which prompted me to agree with the councilors on that. I think, as a bit of a background now, there is a advisory from the marshal attached to that outline for the plan that we're proposing to go forward for a reduction in commercial fire alarm systems in 6-family and above, because within that marshal's advisory, it says that every 6-family and above residential multifamily property must have a monitored fire detection system at a minimum installed. This plays right into, 106 Northeast Street, where we had a problem. It was with the service on the monitored system. But this will ensure that we at least have some opportunity to get a call in case there's a fire in one of these residences. So the idea was to have some type of incentive program to allow them to get a reduced rate when they put these systems in. So in speaking with Councilor Murphy and Councilor Valentin, it's determined that we would go for a year period. They have to go to the building department, apply for a permit to install the system, and then our plan review fee will be reduced for those individuals who do it for that 1-year period. And the period would be from July 1st of this year to July 1st of 2020. The sheet that I gave you basically has some bullet points, and I'm open to anything you want to add, subtract, or whatnot from this process. And it basically outlines installing monitored commercial fire detection system in multifamily residential properties containing 6 or more units. The second bullet point is the incentive program is available to residential property owners who apply for the permit beginning July 1st and ending July 1st, July 1st, 2019 and ending July 1st, 2020. The monitored system must be installed per State Building Code 780 CMR, as well as comply with the requirements of State Fire Marshal's advisory dated April 2nd, 2018. And that's all information that will be presented to these 6-family and above units. The commercial plan review fee for multifamily systems will be reduced from 5 cents a square foot to 2 cents a square foot, with a minimum of a $50 fee. And it offers property owners a savings of 60% on that plan review fee. So this is just a draft and an outline. The reason this is good timing for us is we are going to send letters to every 6-family and above property in Holyoke, and we'll make sure we put this in there as part of their letter so they understand that there is a reduction if they get this service done now. I think one of the, I don't know, whoever came in here, Mr. Bosco, I believe, it was $1,500 for his plan review permit fee based on the square footage of his property. So he will get a substantial savings if he applies for this program within that time frame. He's already in the process. He's going to have to pay what he has to pay from July 1st of 19 going forward to July 1st of 2020. That's when he'll get the reduction. So any of his other properties, if he wants to apply, we'll be happy to oblige.
Councilor Murphy?
Yeah, Frank, first of all, thanks, Chief.
Sir.
We did have a nice conversation. I think it was a day or two after, and the ultimate goal here is to make all of our buildings as safe as possible. And I think the incentive and the potential savings, certainly from a business standpoint, would tell those landlords this is the right thing to do financially, beyond the fact that it's the right thing to do in terms of the safety of their tenants. So I appreciate the chief reaching out to me and suggesting that he could come up with a formula that he and his department would be comfortable with, and that could potentially put us in a situation where I think you said there were about 100 100 buildings, is that what you said?
There's easily 100. There could be close to 200. So
That was going to be my next question.
So, but again, if we can
narrowed them
do that
down.
and get that done, get most of those done, and then obviously we've made our city safer. We've done it with an incentive program that says we are reaching out to you. We want to help you. The letters will obviously do that, and I commend the chief for coming back and making this suggestion, and I appreciate it. So.
thank you, sir.
Yes.
Councilor Bacon.
Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. So just out of curiosity, I was under the impression that the incentive program was already established through the Office of Community Development. And so what I understand you're doing here is now essentially doing outreach and telling building owners that if they take advantage of the incentive program, that it would be further, there's further fee incentives that they could enjoy from the fire department.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if planning put this out yet because we still have many buildings that are 6-family above without a monitored system. So we have a list from the assessor's office. We're going through and we're putting a list together now. We're going to send out a mass mailing to all those properties along with this information.
So I think I'm a little bit confused then, because what I hear you saying is that the incentive program is the commercial plan and review fee being reduced, but I was under the impression that the Office of Community Development was offering like a cash incentive to create the monitoring system and install. So there's two different incentive programs then, right?
Yes, correct.
And the notification that you're going to send out is going to notify them of both sets of incentives?
No, but that's a great idea. I could get with planning and development, see if they want to add something into that letter as well. That would be helpful.
Is
So-
it planning or is it community development?
Community development.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think
great.
because there's a cash grant of sorts that you could get as a building owner if you put the monitoring system in, and then furthermore, it's reducing the plan and review fee on your end.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that program's still going. Was that the radio box program they were doing? I can definitely check on that. That's a great idea, and add it to this if that's still in the process.
That would be great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no
It makes
problem.
sense to kind of layer in the incentives if they are available.
Definitely.
And to your point of giving people a break for the incentive of doing it sooner rather than later, that could also be their friendly reminder as to what the review rate is.
Right. That's a good point.
As of July 1st, it'll be going back up to 5 cents. Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, Chief, just want a couple things.
need a microphone.
Yeah, sorry about that. Chief, how did you, how were the numbers derived? In other words, for your fourth bullet point, how did it go from 5 cents per square foot to 2 cents per square foot? So how to determine that and why? And the same way with a minimum fee of $50, who determined that and why?
If I can go backwards, we already have a minimum fee of $50 for that permit. If it's less than X amount of square feet that goes past $50, say it's 1,000 square feet or 900 square feet, it's gonna be less than 50, it's gonna be $50 no matter what. So
that's already in place.
the 2 cents is something that I sat down with the fire prevention office, and we determined that's probably a good rate to start, because you could go 2.5 cents, that's just gonna confuse people. If you do a 60% saving, that's much better than, 50% or whatever. So when people read those numbers, it's a substantial savings for them.
Okay, so it's in consultation with the fire prevention office, Captain Kavaniak, if I'm sure he's ahead of that?
Yes.
Okay. And does a fire commissioner, do they take a vote on this, or do they have no role?
No, this is my purview.
Your purview, as a chief, but you consult with the fire prevention, so that helps. After July 1st, 2020, what happens?
It goes back to 5 cents a square foot,
Okay. Now, why is that?
because that is the set rate within ordinance, but as the enforcing authority, I have the ability to move the rate up or down.
Oh, okay. You do?
Yes.
In the ordinance? Okay. And you have the ability to move the rate up or down for a period of 1 year?
There's no set period, but this is just an incentive program to get people to put in monitored systems.
Temporary.
Okay.
I set a year. You have to have a beginning and an end line, otherwise it just goes on continuously.
Right. But a lot of times in administrative law, a lot of people get uptight about, arbitrary dates and all that. I can't tell you how many cases I've read, many.
Sure.
Many. So I'm only saying this not because I want to infringe upon your area, but when we come up with, changing numbers and setting dates, so are we going to say it's an incentive program for this fiscal year, take a year break and then maybe bring it back? Or is this going to be 1 year and that's it? So you have a 1 year window and...
1 year and that's it.
Oh, okay, so...
Based on the program's success, maybe we can reconsider after a year. But at this point, you have to have a start and a finish date.
So my point is, I think you want to be as clear as you possibly can when you communicate this, because, property owners, some are more sophisticated than others, and some can go to legal counsel and say, look this over. So you may in fact want to run your letter by legal counsel as well, because that could be right. Challenged under administrative law, kind of a query, if I may. I don't want to get all tangled up here in nonsense. It's probably not even worth it, but it's just, to me, it's just a way just to maybe think it out a little bit, and so we don't subject ourselves to a future challenge.
And if I could, just as a friendly suggestion, I would only suggest, because of month end, that you might run it July 2019 through June 30th, 2020. You know what I mean? Just
okay.
So you don't have that extra day, but that's totally up to you. Counselor Murphy?
Yeah, and again, going into what we just talked about, the dates, it's the incentive program is for owners who have applied for a permit from the building department by that date. So how long after do they get, or is there a time limit from the building permit to the time when you would come and pass that inspection?
That'll be determined by the building department. They set the plans in place, and then they send the plans to us, we review them, and that's when the process begins. So if somebody submits them on June 30th, then that they may have a couple extra months, but they'll pay that fee because they did it within that time frame.
They could still do it in September if that's paperwork. Well, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a good incentive, but on the other hand, you want people to know it is time limited, so
right.
They will do it.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, it's just an endless thing.
I've learned about deadlines.
Yeah, I bet. Anybody else?
Motion to...
Will you just follow up with me and let me know what you hear from community development on that grant?
I don't remember seeing that in this year's list.
It wasn't a CDBG thing, or it might have been, because it's already a year past.
See, I think
it was.
I think it was gone off the list this year. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm not certain.
I can't believe that it's been already a full year.
So I'll make a motion that the orders comply with, just pending Chief getting back to Councilor Lisi about her questions.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is it okay to send an email, let you know how that process works
sure.
out? Okay.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again. Well, thank you for going last, but at least we didn't make you wait till 10 o'clock.
All right.
Have a good one.
Any late files?
Oh, yeah.
Don't start.
I'm just going to make you city council president.
Housekeeping before we adjourn. So, the president of our council has taken June 25th for the special meeting on the budget, which we probably all got in the mail today. Yeah. Those of us who were at the budget hearing knew it that night, but the rest are probably getting it today. Mm-hmm. July is our break. Our next city council meeting will be the first Tuesday in August. So there's been a suggestion made that, good night, that we meet on the Monday, the 5th, immediately prior to the city council meeting, so that we could take up some business, like there's a Interestingly enough, there's a marijuana application, and I'm like, looking at the name Canada, didn't we already do this? Well, they want to move from one part to another part of the property, da-da-da-da. But anyway, if we go to that Monday, it would allow us to move some business at the one meeting that we'll have in this summer on Tuesday. So,
So we're not going to meet at all over the summer?
I'm sorry?
We're not going to meet at all over the summer, not even like once a month?
Well, we're going to meet on the 5th, assuming
Unless there's a special meeting.
No, we're talking about
the committee.
ordinance.
Oh,
I'm available August 5th.
Yeah. As long as I have a quorum.
I will be iffy. I will try to make it.
You're iffy on the Monday?
Because my baseball league, that's their
Oh.
last week.
Oh, gotcha.
As long as I got enough coaches.
Well,
oh, that's
I was kind of thinking it could work because people would be around because of the Tuesday meeting.
Yeah.
But you're away. No,
I'm away on
In
I'm leaving
June.
the 22nd.
but you will be, will you be available on August 5th,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Monday?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a quorum at least, if, in case other people are traveling or coming back from somewhere. Counselor Lisi, does that work for you, or? So,
Find out. I don't have, I mean, again.
no, but, well, if we have 4 out of 5, I mean, this is unusual, but I'm just trying to make things work for people.
Yeah.
And we have to do, advertising for those,
Public hearing.
the special permits, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm just trying to make it
I
fit.
may show up a little late on a Monday just because I closed the branch on that
Okay.
day.
All right, but as long as we have 3, we'll
Yeah,
get
I'll
going,
get here
and
right after.
then we'll keep
I got
going.
you.
How's that? All right? All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Hope I haven't forgotten anything. All right, so we need a motion to adjourn?
I said we could.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.